Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Show Me Your Stack. Today, I'm so excited to be sitting down with Troy. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on?
Yeah, of course. So one, thanks for having me. And two, I'm Troy. I'm Troy Munson. I'm the CEO over at DIMMO, and I'm essentially working on trying to build a place where people can go evaluate software without having to jump into a sales cycle. So like YouTube mixed with Amazon a little bit, and we have like 450 companies on there today. And so the goal is to just keep growing it.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear what's in your tech stack and learn a little bit more about what you have going on. So let's dive in. What do you have for us at number 5?
Yeah, so there's so many. It's crazy. I talk about this a lot that companies are made on tech stacks. Like a software company is made from other software companies. And so there was a lot. And so when I was going through them, I was like, all right, what can we bring down? Um, and so I feel like number 5, even though it's saying it's like my least or whatever, ranks it at number 5. I do have it at we're a small business, okay? So we're very small. We operate lean. So then my number 5 is Trello, which is the productivity board.
I love that you say this. So I love Trello.
Yeah, me too.
Nobody like it. I've been trying to reuse it again for years since I left a job that used it a while ago. So I love that you brought this up.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
so I actually tried Notion. Everybody talks about Notion. It's just it's I'm all over the place. Like I can get lost in something for so long. And so with Notion, it's like, hey, here's a blank slate, go build. And I know there's templates. I even bought all the templates, but then the templates were way too complex for what I just needed. Like, hey, here's what I need to do. Now, can we make this like I want to track it, right? Here's what I need to do. Now let me know when it's completed and where it's at. And so I love Trello just because it's so simple to be like, here's the way I set it up is like, here's my ideas that I want to work on. And then I move those over to which ones do I really need to do, and then to doing, and then to completed. And then like, that's it. It's like super easy for my team and I to just go in there and be like, cool, move it over. Great. She's doing that. I'm doing this. And here we are. So I like it. I like how simple it is and how basic it is.
I agree with you. I feel like a lot of the other PM tools are just really complex.
Hmm.
Um, and it does. It just do this, finish this, move on,
Hmm.
which I really appreciate. And I was so excited you brought this tool up because you're my 28th episode and nobody has brought it up. And I'm like, this was like one of the first PM tools I ever used. And so it has definitely like a special place in my heart. So love it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like people don't use it much anymore because there are other alternatives. The Rikes of the world, the Notions, ClickUps, etc. But yeah, it's if you just want to know what you got to do and get it there, like perfect.
Totally. All
Yeah.
right. What do you have for us at number 4?
So for number 4, it's very sales specific and it's Sales Navigator. Only because I use it every single day. I have to use it every single day for my job, and so I can't get out of it. I can't get out of it.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. What do we have at 3?
Number 3, honestly, could be number 1, and I could switch it. So, Canva for sure. Canva. I don't even need to talk, and people will be like, "Yep, Canva should be everybody's number 1." It is amazing.
It is so cool. And okay, I learned this the other day. So we're looking to hire an intern um, at Superd for graphic design, just, one-off projects. And I'm like, do you know Canva? Because I'm like, I feel like traditionally graphic designers were trained in the Adobe suite.
Yep.
And she's like, oh no, in college we learned Canva. I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you. Like,
Wow, that's a huge differentiator. That's crazy. Wow.
so I love that it is take because there is a place for Adobe. Don't get me wrong. Like, you will always need those print assets that need
Yep.
to have that high resolution, have that creativity. But Canva templates, I'm like, nobody has time to mess around with PowerPoint, moving things are like, and the
Hmm.
AI side of it, I love it.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the best. It's the best.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, I have Fathom, just because I couldn't live without it, and it's free, and it's so powerful for being free. Well, I think until you go into the team plan, but we're a small team, and it's just me that's really recording my calls. So Fathom for sure. It's something I use every single day.
Agreed. All right, number 1.
So I have two kind of. And the reason
Okay.
why I have two is because I think the first one doesn't count. And I wrote down LinkedIn. It's not a tech stack. I know it's social media, and it's just I built my brand on LinkedIn, and I've been able to drive 90% of our business on LinkedIn so far. So it's like LinkedIn's huge. But if we're choosing specifically tools, this is very niche to, I think, startups and smaller founders and stuff. But Superhuman, the email tool, would be my number one. I am obsessed with it. I think it's one of the best tools I've ever used in my life.
Oh, wait, I don't know this tool. So you
Oh
need to
no, you got.
elaborate. I know, I'm like, you threw me for a spin here.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So how do I even explain it? So it's essentially its own email UI. So it sits on top of Google, right? So I use Gmail, but then it's its own UI. Like you're not in Gmail at all. You're in Superhuman, and it just allows you to always be at inbox zero. So I never get distracted of like ever going through my inbox because the way it's set up is like if I don't need to respond to this now, you just hit the letter H, and then you can just hit REM for the word remind, like remind 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. And then it'll pop back up into your inbox at 8 p.m. So it's a great way to like remove all the noise from your inbox. And what it's helped me do is instead of sitting there like aimlessly scrolling through my inbox, I don't have anything in my inbox anymore. So now it's just purely dedicated to work and getting stuff done. And there's so many other things that like I can just there's so many shortcuts like Command K. I can hit Command K and do create an event with Ashley at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and it'll automatically send that event, and I don't need to touch anything. And so, very clean, very fast. Like sometimes when you compose an email on Gmail, it takes a while for it to pop up, and then you CC and BCC somebody, and it's like, come on, let's go. Um, you don't deal with any of that in Superhuman, so I love it. It's incredible.
I definitely am going to have to look into that and share that with the team because, I mean, we're a small startup too. So I
It's
love it.
I love it.
Okay. This is awesome. I'm looking at your tech stack and I'm like, makes sense. Love it. What are you excited about that you're
Yeah,
hearing?
yeah. So I think one of them that I'm excited, a tool that I'm excited about is it's a direct competitor to RB2B, and it's called Vector. And so
Okay.
it does the same thing, vector.co, and it does the same thing where it de-anonymizes your website visitors. And of course, like no company that provides data will ever be 100% accurate. That's just the way it is. And I think people need to kind of get off that soapbox that data is bad because I think that at the end of the day, it's just hard to get good data. Um, all that to say is they're doing like they're completely free to understand who's on your website, which is awesome, but their bigger plan to scale is essentially like which exact individuals are searching up the stuff you care about. So for example, you can figure before them even coming to your site, you know exactly who's searching up ABM or you know exactly who's searching up customer adoption and stuff like that. Like if they're Googling it, you know exactly who it is already. So it's like I think they call it offline identification. So people that aren't on your site, we identify who it is. And that's their paid plan. So yeah, I think that is really, really interesting.
Hmm.
Um, because there's so many intent tools out there and it's an interesting play that they haven't taken yet. So
Yeah, like a bucketing.
yeah,
Okay. That's really cool.
yeah.
Also not familiar with that one, so definitely gonna do some research. I think that's really helpful. Um, what are you working on?
What am I working on in regards to demo or more so?
Demos plan for 2025.
Yeah. So 2025. Ooh, I will say
I
right
mean,
now, I'm going to,
it's here, right?
I
Like,
know it's scary to think about. I would say right now, what I'm working on, one is I'm being very bullish on video. So I outsourced a video editing agency. I just sit here and record videos in my room. It seems like every Monday I do no meeting Mondays to where I just record content, write my newsletter for the week, write my LinkedIn post, things like that. And so I'm like literally right after this, I'm gonna go and record probably like 20 videos and it's super exhausting. But then I'm sending those out to get edited. So I'm working on that. And then I think at the end of the day, it's like really what I want to happen is for demo to be known as like the one place you can go and actually evaluate software. So yeah, you can go and watch a demo today, but how can you be in one spot and maybe go talk to a peer in that same exact on that same exact platform and be like, hey, have you used this? And then from there, can you also be like, let me compare let me compare this with that. Like, can you compare and then even ask questions right then and there without being forced through a sales cycle? So that's what I want to accomplish in 2025.
I love that. When I heard about your platform just before inbound,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing. So early career for me, I did trade show. I was on the field team, and I did trade shows at a 2015 startup. So VC funded, go spend money, collect as many leads as you can, and then just sales pipeline the crap out of them.
Yep.
And I mean, like, we all as field marketers felt like no one feels good about doing that way. No one likes it. No one wants to hear it.
Yep.
And so when I heard your platform, I'm like, oh, this is the new era. Like, events are now, I want to come out at someone's booth to feel their brand.
Yeah.
I don't
Absolutely.
I don't want them to spam me. I don't want my badge scanned. I want to do my own research, and then I want to pick based on their brand and what other people say about them.
Yeah. And that's huge. And it's funny because we've been discussing internally, like, is there a way to host like a really big, not really big, like 100, for example, is there a way to go get like 3 to 5 different marketing vendors and do an in-person demo day, but it's with like 100 CMOs or VPs of marketing? Like, you have to be a C or VP level, and then like we treat you to dinner and all that stuff, and you go and you watch these demos to know what's on the market and what's not. We've been trying to figure that out. So it's funny you say that, because the whole point is like, how do we get people to like want to be there and like you said, feel the brand? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk after about our event strategies, but no, I totally agree with you there. As a CEO and founder, what's your advice for picking a tech stack and keeping budget in mind? We all know tech stacks become your deal breaker on your budget if you're not careful.
Oh yeah. I'm seeing that now. I would say, honestly, just there's in my opinion, in a business, there's 2 things. There's 4 things, but 2 things that you really care about. And there's important things and there's urgent things. And hardly is anything ever urgent. Like, nothing is really ever urgent unless the website's down or you're about to lose your largest customer or the business is about to fail. How do we react to this? Then there's your important things, right? And then those should only be like 2 to 3, maybe 4 things at a time. Like, shouldn't be that many important things. That's too much on people's plate. So I'd say all this because then there's also like small things that you want to get done, and then there's things that you should delegate. And so that's the way I look at a business, is those 4 areas. And I say that because I think if you're choosing a tech stack, choose a tech stack, especially if you're trying to save budget, that only solves for like important, and choose a tech stack that solves for urgent, which again, it rarely happens. So you don't need much, but like important to drive the business forward is like the only thing you should look at, not all these shiny objects where it's like, hey, do this, do that. So that's what I think. So if customer adoption is really important to you, and because your churn rate's really high, like, that should be, you look at that. Don't go look at that sales tool because your sales team is like, hey, we need to generate more pipeline.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, that might be the best description I've heard so far on choosing a tech stack. So thank you for that.
Of course.
I love it. And I like that you think in those buckets. We always talk about, in the startup world, a 2-way door versus a 1-way door. And if it's a 1-way door, it's probably on the urgent, I can't come back from this decision, so let's actually sit in it. And if it's a 2-way, it probably falls in just important, and let's make a decision and move on, and we can always circle it back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast, and I love talking about technology, so I'm glad I was able to.
Let's shuffle up and show me your tech stack, where every episode is a high-stakes reveal of the tools that are aces in our guest book, where chips are down and digital decks are on the table. Are you ready for the best-in-class tech? Let's deal these cards and see what comes up. Who's ready to double down on digital innovation with me?